Hello, hello, hello.
Welcome to another episode of Diary of a Professional. It is Ashley here,
D.
Blue.
and we have a lovely guest with us this evening, this episode, Adrienne Martien. So before we get into all of that, we're going to go into our gratitudes of the week. So I'll start.
Yes, because I'm
I'll
still
start.
percolating.
I'll start. I just want to say I'm grateful for rest. Okay, I'm keeping it simple. I'm keeping it sweet. Um, I didn't realize how exhausted I've been, like exhausted. I've been just running around and seeing a lot of patients lately, and just that hustle, and squeezing in, like taking care of myself as well. That when this past weekend it hit me all at once that Saturday where I was just going like I was just like laid out in the bed for like the whole Saturday and just catching up on rest and sleep and some Netflix. So I'm just thankful of just, regrouping, and resetting for the work week. So yes,
Critically
take time
important.
out for yourselves. It's important, it's crucial. So that's me.
Super, super important.
Yes.
I guess I'll go. So I'm super grateful for next days, because sometimes you don't have a great day. You made some decisions you maybe aren't too proud of. You maybe, overate, smoked too much weed, drank too much wine. You know what I mean? But guess what? There's tomorrow. And tomorrow, you do all the right things and everything's okay. It's like sometimes you just need a day. So for me, I'm grateful for just every day is a new day. You get to choose who you are, what you want to do, what you're about to get into, whether, whatever that may be. So I'm grateful to be able to have those options each and every day. I don't wake up to like somebody telling me like, nah, but you must. I have I have these personal decisions I can make, and I'm grateful for that.
Another reset. I'm liking that.
Sometimes you just need to be someone else for a day or two.
Okay.
I hear that.
I mean, I guess I kind of low key took your advice without realizing it, Ash, because I have been off for the past couple of days and it has been lovely. I love, being a normal person because I work nights. So having like a regular schedule is like, okay, this is cool. But not only having a regular schedule, but still not really having to get up early still is Um, and just like it almost makes me like want to be like, so how can I make this regular? Like, how can I, you know, this is the lifestyle. Like,
You've
yesterday's was
identified what you want, girl.
right. Like, I'm not just gonna, stay in the house all day, but like, what if I just want to? What about when I
Mm-hmm.
get
Yeah.
thinking?
I
It's
like it. I
cool.
like it.
So that's a blessing in itself. So I'm happy for that.
Amen. I hear that.
Sometimes I don't leave my house for days. I'll be just looking out the window like
Ain't it out there?
the world is still here. Everybody's, people are walking their dogs. Everything's fine. Closed curtain.
Exit.
Exit left.
I mean, I'll jump in too. For me, I would say I'm super grateful for perspective right now. I don't know if you know this, well, probably not because I haven't really announced it, but I'm a new godmommy today.
Oh
Yes.
my God.
Yes, my best friend just delivered today. So, and I'm just saying, like, this is a crazy time for me. So, just the perspective of like, whoa, let's take a minute, let's slow down, blessings on blessings. She's healthy, baby's healthy, and really just put it into perspective, like what's really important, because it's so easy to get bogged down with, oh my gosh, I have to go here, I have to go here, I have to do this, I have to do that. And it's it's okay. Everything will still get done, but you got to really absorb those great moments, and just be still in those moments. So that's what I'm super grateful for today.
Yes. Oh my God. Nothing like new life.
Yes. Yes.
That role of being godmommy in itself is just such a, you know.
Yeah. No, I'm super excited. So I have two of my own. So this is my first very like close friend from like middle school who's had a child and named me as godmommy. So I'm super super excited.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Thank you.
Super exciting. Okay, now I'm feeling all the feels. So, at any rate, I'm feeling all the feels.
Girl,
Um, so let's
in
get
our
into our
age, hear
episode.
about babies, feeling.
Yeah, I'm getting all the feels. Like I get it. Like I remember when I finally became a godmommy, like almost 3 years ago. I just like I am getting all the feels. At any rate, let's get into our episode for today. Um, we have someone here who is the founder of Fame Consulting, and it is tax season. And as an accountant, a tax preparer, I hope you can just aid us and guide us like through this season. So first, tell us what your services are at Fame Consulting.
Oh, yes, sure. So thank you for the intro. My name is Adrienne again. I am the founder of Fame Consulting. Fame actually stands for Financial Abundance Made Easy. So I specialize in services for individuals and entrepreneurs. I really kind of meet you where your vision is. So you could be someone who is saying, "Hey, I have an idea and I don't really know how to get started," or you could be more established and saying, "Hey, how do I scale? How do I get to the next level?" So I really start from scratch. So I start with entity formation, helping you decide what's the best entity type for your idea. I can file the paperwork, explain what a registered agent is and why it's important to have one. Then bookkeeping. So, helping you get that set up, understanding how to, read the different reports and understand how that impacts you as a business owner. Then taxes. And it's not just preparing the taxes, it's also planning ahead and understanding, how do I maximize my deductions? What can I do? How do I leverage what's in the tax code to really make sure that I'm set up for success? And then it goes full circle to coaching. So, maybe you've gone through all those things and you might need just some coaching, some financial coaching or budgeting or just some compliance or consulting work. So I really meet you wherever you are in your life cycle. And then you may be thinking about launching or you might be established, like I said before. So wherever you are in the spectrum, that's where I try to kind of tailor my services. So it's a boutique firm, and I work personally with all my clients to kind of figure out a personal plan that works for them.
Mm, mouthful, girl.
Yes.
Woo!
You talking to adults, y'all? What?
Absolutely. So, what are the basic needs? Like, please forgive my like lack of knowledge in this area, which is why we have you today. Like, what are the basic, yes, needs that we need for a small business when like approaching you?
Honestly, it's a concept. It could be as simple as I have an idea, I want to start a store online, or it could be I provide a service for others and I just want to protect myself and I'm not sure how. So it always starts off with a conversation about what you're up to, where you want to go, and we really kind of like explore your vision. Then once I get an idea of, what you want to do, then I help to kind of break that down for you into steps to really figure out, okay, one, we want to make sure you're protected, right? We want to make sure that whatever structure you have for your business makes sense. And especially when you're just getting started, a lot of people may just kind of pop up and start working and, accept Cash App and Zelle and all those different things. And that is a form of business. It's called a sole proprietorship, where you just kind of start working, right?
Yep.
And you end up on Schedule C. But a lot of businesses don't realize that there's no legal protection there. And that's why you want to kind of make the next step. So once you figure out, oh, okay, I have things rolling, the money's coming in, I have some coins going, I have a great idea, you want to make sure you have that legal protection. So if anything ever happened on the business side, your personal assets are like, there's that veil, right? So we want to block, your personal assets from being potentially at risk. I'm not an attorney, but that is the basic start for a business, is just creating that structure, creating that entity, and making sure that you're protecting yourself and also your business at the same time. So that's really where you get started. And then from there, you say, okay, well, entities formed, what are we doing? So how are you really managing your finances? Do you have a separate bank account from your personal account? That's the next step. We also want to make sure you have a separate account. All your transactions are there. And then we set you up on the bookkeeping to keep track of like what's coming in and out. So it all comes full circle, because at the end of the day, once you have your records together and your bookkeeping, flows directly into your taxes and what you're reporting. Hopefully you're reporting everything right. So what you're reporting, and that's where you kind of get to this point of time where we are right now, tax season, where you're filing those taxes, which are summarizing everything you did for the year. So I also mentioned about the coaching piece, because yes, you swiped your card, you paid for all these things, you deducted all the right things, but maybe that profit isn't where, after your expenses, that number isn't where you want it to be. So that's why the coaching is also important, to really see, okay, well, maybe I need to scale back in certain areas. Maybe I need to pursue other opportunities. And the bookkeeping is so fundamental and so important, because really looking back at that historical record of like, all right, this is what came in, that's what went out, that now gives you the ability to make choices as to what can I do differently if I want to meet that goal next year, or I want to meet a certain target or metric next year. You really need to reassess, well, what did I do last year, and how can I make changes in the future in order to land at a different point? So I know that was that was a more involved question about the basics, but it kind of gives you a progressive view as to how you move through just simply from protecting yourself legally to scaling in the future. And I simplified it. It doesn't just happen overnight, but it's a journey that, you progress through over time.
It's something I hear all the time is the biggest mistake new business owners make is to not create a financial plan from the beginning. Once you don't have you have the wrong structure or don't have a structure at all, things can become really complicated. And the distinction between making money and the cash you have on hand and then profits, people don't really understand those distinctions. Do you have anything to kind of say on that? Because I hear a lot of people go in the red, not understanding kind of a little bit of those distinctions.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even when the profit and loss is what really shows you, that statement will show you, a summary of your income, a summary of your expenses, and then you have what's the net income, which is either the red or the black, right? So red meaning you spent more than you brought in. But really, understanding what you're doing on a daily basis is really important, and even setting a budget up front, because sometimes when the coins are coming in, it's easy to get flustered, like, oh yeah, this is great, and then you lose track of, oh well, I didn't check in on my P&L every month, and then all of a sudden I'm in the red, and it just snowballs because maybe the spending got a little out of hand, or even following up with invoices, right? So sometimes, you send out an invoice, but being a solopreneur or a small business, sometimes it's tough to even find the time to carve out to follow up on all those invoices. And then suddenly you realize, hey, my P&L says I made a lot of money, but all of a sudden I'm actually looking at the cash in the bank and it's not lining up. So, it's really making sure you have a system to kind of understand what all the numbers are, why they're important, and those numbers should translate into an actual action that you should take. So even like I was saying before, like take a look at your P&L report or your profit and loss statement on a monthly basis. Maybe not every day. We don't want you to have anxiety, right? But on a monthly
The stock
basis,
market every day. Let's not do that.
yeah, let's not do that, right? So it's like check in at least once a month and then reassess, okay, or set a few tangible, like, hey, I looked at my P&L, maybe I also looked at my balance sheet, and I need to do 1, 2, and 3 based off of what these numbers are telling you. So I know accounting gets a bad rap, everyone's like, oh, taxes, accounting, like it's boring, but if you actually understand the language of the numbers and what the numbers are telling you, a lot of times that's what really shifts the conversation for people once they have a good understanding of what those numbers mean for them. And they can now translate that into actual tangible actions that will now allow them to really, jump to the next level with their business and figure out what's not working for them and how to shift that into another outcome that is working for them. So,
I actually have a question because I feel like, especially now during the pandemic, you've seen cases of established businesses who maybe haven't structured it properly, and maybe were very cash and, just handwritten books, and they're not qualifying for a lot of those loans that were available. And then you also see a lot of people going like, let me just get an LLC and start something and whatever, and LLC versus S corp versus whatever, or just not having it together. Like, what are you seeing?
oh man, I've seen a lot. I'm not going to shout anybody out, right? Not my client over here, okay? But I've heard of people, coming into some dollars, and I'm not really sure, what this business is really doing on their books. Not my client. So you got me. It's not me. It's not me. But I've seen people also who have been established who weren't getting the dollars that they were supposed to, either because one, they may not have had the most accurate records, or like you were saying, they had the cash and they didn't realize, oh, I needed to account for all of those things. So their business, they might have been able to qualify for more if they had reported everything they were supposed to report. And I've seen that the people who had the bookkeeping and they were more up to date with the numbers, they were able to respond quickly to those opportunities because, oh, I already have the paperwork right here, or hey, let me call my accountant real quick and get that done. I think so part of why I even started Fame was really because I was working with Fortune 500 companies. I was at a big four accounting firm, I was at a mid-sized firm, and I was working with these really large companies. But I realized that in, our community, we don't always have access to a CPA or an accountant at a rate that's scalable for our startup companies. So I really said, this is a passion project of mine. I love the numbers. I love accounting. And I really want to be able to work with my people to make sure that they have access to a CPA. Yes, I am a licensed CPA in New York. And make sure that they understand what they're doing as they're going through the process. And I also work with a lot of my clients to help them do those applications. And, if they wanted to do it on their own, helping them make sure they understand what the application meant. The financial literacy is an important foundation, and actually do those applications. Some of them I assisted them with the applications. Some of them they did them on their own and they needed help with forgiveness. But I think taxes get a bad rep because people, they don't understand them, they don't know the code, and they say, hey, you know what, I'm not sure if I know how to navigate this space, as opposed to looking for support and really seeing the value of, oh, there's somebody out there that knows how to navigate some of these things, and they can actually assist me with getting these things done. Whether it's PPP or EIDL, like those programs are closed now, but there's still actually some, loan programs and other things some grants that are popping up, that it's important to have your ear to the streets so that you know that they're coming around, and you have the documentation and paperwork to, show that you're operating and that you meet the criteria to really apply for these things. So there are a lot of opportunities, and I think like with the whole pandemic, we really started to see, oh wow, it's really important to make sure that I have my taxes together and my paperwork needs to be in order. And it's not even just the filing, but even some grants are even asking, oh well, we want a current P&L. And people are like, well, P&L, what's that, right? So it's not just, your finances aren't something that you can just leave till tax season. They're really something that on an ongoing basis, business or personal, you really want to check in there and make sure that you have a plan for, what do I want to do for the next month, for the next quarter, for the next year, and start to kind of think that way. So I know we're still in the beginning of the year, so if you're doing some goal setting, or, just throw some numbers on there too. Set some financial goals, personal or business goals, whatever it is. But just like we'll work on our relationships, we'll work on our diet, like your finances, we can't neglect those either.
We need a roadmap there. If not, it could get dark and scary real fast.
Right.
People
Exactly.
don't
Something I
especially
avoid the most.
paper when they do like financial planning or budgeting, because it's real. Life is expensive.
Yeah. And
And
it's
ignorance, a lot of issues, which is why I think this passion project is fantastic, because I think, a lot of people in our communities don't really even understand that these are how in depth these services are and how much help they can really get. And, I think there's a huge education gap there on, what's even available to them to assist them in their financial issues.
yeah, and especially after BLM and the pandemic and everything, there's been such a strong focus on small businesses, especially, and just I'm seeing a lot more programs opening up with, just even offering free assistance with, how to start a business, how to create a business plan, free coaching. And I mean, after this, I don't mind sharing some links to some things. And some different programs that I've seen out there, that are free and are specifically saying, hey, we want to help our, Black and brown businesses thrive. And, we're putting in the work to make sure that we support these businesses. I swear it's like I got a text from a friend today with another entrepreneurship program, that's this month. And it's, I almost feel a little bit like I'm being flooded, but it's good. It's good stuff.
Flood is better than a drought.
Yes.
I mean, in this type of environment, for sure.
Yeah, definitely in these times. And it's so important to also just make sure that you have someone that's like checking in for you. So if you're not following someone on YouTube that's giving you like updates weekly or signed up to some newsletter, not a plug, but I do have both. It's super
Yes, a
important to
plug. Yes,
Plug, big
please.
plug.
It's a plug. It's a plug. No, but it's super important to make sure that either you're doing the research, or you're linked with someone who is doing that research to keep you up to date as to what's going on nationally, locally, and otherwise. Because like I know we're kind of digressing from taxes, but I don't know if any of you own homes, but like they opened a program at the beginning of January. Hey, I see you. At the beginning of January, with it was called the New York State Homeowners Assistance Fund, to really help people impacted by COVID, because with all the laws and everything they created during the pandemic, they created a problem for people where people are living in spaces for free because eviction moratorium, but homeowners are still stuck with that mortgage. So this program was really created to help homeowners who may have been impacted by the pandemic, may have been in a forbearance plan, whatever the case may be, to try and now, you know, unwind some of those financial issues that might have arose because of everything that was going on. So that's the one thing I say. I love sharing free information, right? Get those coins if they're out there.
Get that dollar bills, y'all, because they're out there.
And
So
you
Yeah,
know what?
if it's not coming for you, it's going to somebody else.
And I think
exactly.
what I like about your consulting firm is the fact that there is a lot of information out there. Google is free, the internet, YouTube, all these, different sources, and they're great. But like understanding them is a whole
Right.
other thing.
Hmm.
And God
Right.
bless you.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
They try to
I,
break it down and you feel like, what are y'all talking about?
We need
yeah.
good storytellers. We need good people to be like, this is what you actually need to know in layman's terms, like I don't want to know the code number or the blah 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 or the just do this and this is the outcome. Sold.
Boom. Sweet and simple to the point.
But I do want to get into like what is like, can you tell us the simplest way to understand taxes as the individual though? Like what are the basic things we just need to know or have in place?
Yeah. Sure, sure, sure. So, promise you, every year I get a question. I get the question of, all right, hey, I'd like to do taxes with you. So, how much am I going to get back? And I'm like, I've seen no paperwork. I haven't. So that's my own plug of just like, please don't do your accountant like that. Please don't. Let us have something to work with first. But the simplest way to kind of get started with taxes and to really like understand is to look at the first 2 pages of your 1040. The 1040, that's the return that everyone is filing, right? Or, well, most people. And that is going, the first 2 pages will summarize everything that's going on for the year. So it's going to be all of the income that you made, right? From all the different sources, your job, maybe you got some interest at the bank. So it's going to be the income. Then you'll have deductions. So, if there's anything that, maybe you're getting the standard deduction based off of whatever filing status you have, if you're married, if you're single, if you're head of household, the amounts change depending on what status you're in or what category. And then after you take the deductions, then you'll have your base of, okay, this is the number that we're going to tax you at. That number will put you in a tax bracket. And then once you're in that tax bracket, it'll determine what's your rate, what percentage of tax you're going to pay on that number that we came to. And then there are credits. So credits get deducted from, like, let's say you owe 10,000, credits take money off of that $10,000 total, right? So the credits are great because it's dollar for dollar bringing down your tax bill. So sometimes people leave credits on the table and they're really valuable. So I know you said you're a homeowner, Lou. So, maybe there's solar credits out there in your future, you
Got that
know,
covered. Child tax credit. I'm grabbing
right.
them Pokemon out
Grab
here.
grab those coins. Yes. So you want them. I actually had some people who went and got solar panels and never applied for the credits. So you don't want to leave any dollars on the table, especially now when dollars are important. Make sure we get all our coins and stuff. But that's the simplest way to kind of put it. So it's your total income minus any deductions. Normally we're taking the standard, right? Then your taxable base times your tax rate. This is the amount of taxes that you owe minus credits. And then if what depending on what the math is will determine if you're getting a refund, meaning like you paid too much or you let Uncle Sam hold on to too much, or you might owe a balance if enough didn't come out of your check or you didn't pay enough to them. So very simplified way of saying it, but what I just described is summarized on the first 2 pages of your return. So even if you don't go into every single schedule, at least just look at that to kind of get an idea of, okay, this is how I ended up with owing a balance or getting a refund. That those 2 pages, I would just say check in at the end of the year, at least check those two.
Mm.
Um, Yeah, I
Yeah.
could definitely break that down a lot more, but I don't want to overcomplicate things.
And speaking of the credits, like I know because I'm getting solar panels, there's like a program in Queens or whatever, property tax credit or whatever. How do people know what their local credits are or what credits they are qualified for?
So there are some there are websites you can check out. You can also do some research or even if you look online, there's like a list of like you can do a Google search for, federal tax credits in the US and you can get a list of what the tax credits are. And sometimes just looking at the list in like a brief description, you might say, "Oh, that might apply to me," or that might be something to plan for next year. Like, "Oh, there's a credit for that. Maybe that's something I want to look into for doing during this year so that when I file next year, I can, benefit from that credit." I will share the link at the end of this, but I know that there's a federal website that will actually break down, especially it's for solar panels and energy efficient upgrades, but it'll even tell you by state what programs exist in each state. So you can then click on the state website, go there, and then read up more about what are the qualifications for that state. So it's not just understanding what the IRS is saying, but like you said, there's a program in Queens. It's understanding what's available in my local state, in addition to at the federal level, because what the IRS does on their level at the federal level, the states don't necessarily always follow one for one. So even so outside of just the credits, even with the income, the IRS might treat certain income a certain way, but then when you get to the state level, you realize, "Oh, why am I paying taxes on that?" Well, that's because the state doesn't follow the same rules as the IRS. So I know there's layers to this stuff, right?
Wow. That's why we
Layers.
have specialists like you.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
thank God, thank God. So do you trust and like do you think it's fine for people to use TurboTax? Do you think they're leaving dollars on the table when they're using these automated services to do their taxes? Hey.
so yes and no. It depends on what you know going into the software. So I personally, I started using TurboTax out of school. I started using TurboTax on my own in H&R Block. So not knocking the software. When it's a simple return, it walks you through everything. It might take a little bit of time, but for the most part, you end up with a very accurate result. But it's also as accurate as what you put into it. So if you are clicking through there and Speedy Gonzalez or whatever, and you miss the question about the solar panels, then those could be dollars that you leave on the table. Or let's say you got something, it's like cancellation of debt. So let's say, you had a credit card and they discharged the debt, meaning like they said, "Hey, we're going to settle, you no longer owe this," but you get a tax form for that. They're actually special treatments, or, if you're insolvent, you actually can add a form to your return to kind of, talk about your situation, what was going on. And you might be able to potentially even lower your tax bill if you knew that there's a special rule for cancellation of debt. So I don't know that everyone knows these special rules, and sometimes it's good to kind of meet with someone to run. Hey, is there something else I can do in this situation, or give it to a professional, and the professional will now prompt it'll if they get that form, it should prompt a question of, "Oh, by the way, X, Y, and Z," and you might be able to qualify for something else. So that's the only thing that I have against like their system right now, is that personal one-to-one connection. And I'm
Hmm.
not saying that everyone needs it, because some returns simply are just not that complicated. But once you buy a house, once you have dependents, once their tax law changes during the year, you realize, "Oh shoot, how do I do an amendment?" Or you just need someone to like kind of hold your hand or work with you and talk through things. And that personal connection is the one thing I would say is, missing at times.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Keep it to like recent college grad or college student working, you know? It's just a little simple, that one little W-2. You don't have too much under your name, you know, little toot, 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 toot.
Right.
100%.
Exactly.
I agree. Wow. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. This was super informative. Please let the people know where they can locate you, find you, look you up, get in contact with you. Please.
Oh, thank you. No, seriously, thank you so much for having me on this segment. As you can tell, I love the numbers. I love working with people and helping them understand the numbers and really make tangible results. You can find me on pretty much all social platforms at Fame Consulting. Again, it's FAME Consulting. My website is www.fame.consulting. You can, find all my social media there. You can book an appointment with me. I'll share my appointment calendar with you all so that, we can attach it to the video. I respond to my comments too. So I'm not one of those who just puts it out there and I leave it. So definitely reach out if you need any support or have any questions. And yeah, I'm here. I'm here as a resource.
Oh, amazing. Thank you for what you're doing, this passion project, changing lives and shit.
Yeah. We need it for our community for sure.
Yes.
So,
Especially female, love that. Black
Thank
female,
you.
I can't.
Thank you. Thank you.
so let us know
It's
your
a
thoughts.
wrap.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Till next time, to the Queen
Till
and you,
next
y'all.
time, like, subscribe, comment, all the above.